So for my speech, I decided to do on the marijuana laws in Idaho. So imagine this: if you're driving back to Idaho from a weekend trip to Oregon, where you just legally buy a small amount of marijuana, you feel relaxed, you're obeying traffic laws, and then suddenly, boom, flashing lights appear in your rearview mirror. That legal purchase you just did can now land you jail for up to 5 years. A plant, something legal in nearly half the country, might cost you your freedom. Doesn't that sound ridiculous? As someone who lived in Idaho my whole life and grown up hearing about how our state's zero-tolerance drug policies, I've seen the fear and hesitation people have, especially when crossing state borders. It's something that feels personal because I've seen firsthand how these laws can disrupt lives. Whether those harsh punishments or even just the stigma of an arrest record. Idaho's marijuana laws are outdated, excessively harsh, and out of touch with public opinion. These laws waste taxpayer money, ruin lives over minor offenses, and leave Idaho behind while other states are modernizing. Today I'm going to break down the severity of Idaho's marijuana laws, the social and economic costs they create, and how they compare to neighboring states, and why reform is only necessary but inevitable. Sorry, that's my dog. Alright, here's my point one. Idaho is notorious for having some of the strictest marijuana laws in the U.S. Possession of any amount can result in jail time. Possessing more than 3 ounces is a felony, punishable by up to 5 years in prison and a $15,000 fine. Imagine if you're caught with 3 ounces, you can still face up to 1 year in jail and a $1,000 fine. And that is sourced from normal.org. Oh, all the sources at the end. Marijuana arrests in Idaho just target younger individuals that are first-time offenders. Example, in 2021, a 22-year-old in Boise was caught with just under an ounce of marijuana. While other states would have issued a small fine or nothing at all, he faced a year of probation and had to pay court costs. And this still carries a criminal record just for possessing a plant that is legal in half of America. Alright, going over my next point. But it's not the individuals who suffer. These harsh policies have a ripple effect, wasting resources and harming entire communities. Point 2. Idaho spends millions of dollars annually on enforcing marijuana laws, arresting, prosecuting, and incarcerating individuals for minor possession clause that the justice system creates. According to the ACLU, marijuana arrests account for over 40% of drug-related arrests in Idaho. This means we're spending time and money prosecuting low-level offenders, and most of the time even first-time offenders, instead of focusing on more serious crimes. Meanwhile, states with legal marijuana generate massive tax revenue. For instance, Oregon brought in $159 million in cannabis taxes in 2022. Idaho sees none of that, only costs from the courts. Impact on individuals. Criminal records of marijuana possession make it harder to get jobs, housing, or even access to financial aid for college. Personal story. A family friend of mine got caught with a small amount of weed when he was 19. He didn't go to jail, but the arrest alone was enough to scare off job opportunities in construction. It is crazy to think that something so minor could follow him for years. And another point to this, my parents are defense attorneys. And when I see somebody get arrested, I also see how it affects their family and how friends view them. While Idaho digs its heels in, other states are showing us that there's a better way. Alright. As for the surrounding states, as you may know, as we live in Moscow, Oregon, Washington, and Montana all have legal recreational marijuana programs. Utah and Nevada have medical marijuana laws. Idaho, on the other hand, remains one of the few states with no medical marijuana program and some of the harshest penalties in the nation. Neighboring states are thriving. Since legalizing cannabis, Washington state has generated over $500 million annually in marijuana tax revenue, funding schools, public health programs, and addiction services, and even public health awareness programs. Idahoans cross state lines to spend their money in Oregon and Washington, benefiting other states. Economics instead of our own. So why hasn't Idaho followed suit? Many argue it's because of the state's conservation values, but the reality is public opinion is changing. Nationwide, over 60% of Americans support full legalization of marijuana. According to research, even in conservative states, support for marijuana is widespread. A Boise State public policy survey from 2022 found that nearly 75% of Idahoans support marijuana legalization and 42% support full decriminalization. Potential solutions for Idaho? Well, lower penalties for possession so people aren't facing jail time for small amounts, allow patients with chronic pain, epilepsy, or cancer to access safe and regulated cannabis. Follow law enforcement on serious issues. Redirect sources to tackle real problems like a violent crime or opiate addiction. Reforming Idaho's marijuana laws isn't just about aligning with public opinion, it's about creating a fair, smarter system that benefits everyone. Alright, so Idaho's marijuana laws are outdated, overharsh, and no longer reflect the values of needed for its people. They waste taxpayer dollars, harm individuals, and prevent us from moving forward. I'm not asking Idaho to go full Oregon overnight, but it's time for us to at least start the conservation. Alright, whether this means decriminalization, medical marijuana, or simply reevaluating our priorities. Sorry, I misspelled conservation with conversations. My notes were a little messed up. Because in 2024, no one should be facing jail time for a plant. It's time to start punishing and start progressing. Alright, now my sources were National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, Oregon.gov, Boise State University Public Policy Survey, Pew Research Center, U.S. and World Report. And I'll go ahead and list those when I do my outline I posted. So that was my marijuana presentation. I mean, my dog Moss. Moss, hey, Moss.